I'm Wayne Arthur, live Cannons Campground. Been there ever since I was about 6 years old. And I'm 82 now and just proud to be here.
All right, I'm Jimmy Denton. I'm the drummer with the Sparkletones, and I live just outside of Cowpens. Been there for practically all my life also, and I'm pushing 83.
Right.
Black Slacks is a song that we recorded back in the 50s. It was written on the front porch of Joe Bennett's mother. And I asked my mother when she was coming by there going to the grocery store, I asked her to bring me my black slacks because Joe and I were going out that afternoon, that evening. And so that's where the song started, with Black Slacks. He said this and I said that, and one thing led to another, and the song was born on that front porch.
Well, Joe and I were friends in school. And I was about 12 years old, and they started a band. And I started singing with them, and they were called the Jamborettes. And one thing led to another, and he come up and said, okay, we're going to start another band. And so we got, Jimmy came in because Jimmy and Joe were friends. And we met Howard at a talent show.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
And so we talked to Howard, and he come in, and Joe told me, he said, okay, we need a bass player. I never had picked up a guitar or nothing, so I said, okay. So my dad got me a bass, but anyway, we started. And trying to figure out a name, and Joe's mother, Miss Ella, she come up with Sparkletones. She said, Spartanburg, Sparkletones. So that's how we got started. And then we played around Spartanburg area and out and went to North Carolina a few times and just played and did some talent shows. We had a TV show on Channel 4 out of Greenville for, about a year, maybe?
Roughly, yeah.
About a year, maybe. Called it Talent Scouts show and everything. And just a lot of things happened. We won a contest.
Well, actually, we came in second place
right.
in that talent contest. Our manager, Mr. Bob Cox, he worked for CBS as a talent situation. And they were doing talent shows in Greenville, Spartanburg, all around. And we participated in one, and we came in second place.
Right.
But Bob kind of took a liking to us, and he put us under his wing, and he took us to New York to audition for a record contract. And so that's what we did. We auditioned for that record contract. We were in the studio to do Black Slacks. Now, the intro to Black Slacks was not originally in the original song. The part, it was in the wintertime. So Howard came in the studio shaking and said, it's cold out there. And the producer said, can y'all do that in harmony? So that's how the hook got into that song.
Another good thing on when we made Black Slacks, the flip side was called Boppin' Rock Boogie. And in the chorus in that song, the producer says, that thing needs something in the chorus. And they happened to be this young fella in there that had just recorded his first song. So he did a high part in the chorus. Come to find out, this fella's name was Paul Anka, and he had just cut Diana. And so that was our first encounter with him, and I don't think we ever crossed paths with him again.
Not that I'm aware of.
That we never did catch up with him again and everything. When we cut it, we left New York and went to Chattanooga, Tennessee, and did a show in Chattanooga. We had signed up to do a bunch of theaters all the way across the United States, and prior to making this record. So by the time we got to California, Black Slacks was just going on up the charts. Theaters were getting full, and it was a good leg, and we had a great time and everything. And
Yeah, all the theaters were playing the same movie because I think our manager carried the film in the trunk of his car as we went. It was Gunfight at OK Corral.
yeah, that was a movie. Yeah,
And
that was cool.
I think I've seen it enough time that I could probably fill in for most of the characters in there. But
Yeah,
yeah, it was quite an experience.
yeah.
So how long did was the band together that first time around?
What, about 3?
About 3 years.
About 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
But during our tour of those theaters, we wound up in Santa Monica, California, and we stayed there a month or so.
Yeah.
But anyway, manager come in one day and we had an audition. Back in the 50s, big bands were big, and especially in Vegas. And Art Mooney was one of those big band leaders. And he was looking for a 30-minute sideshow in his orchestra. We auditioned and got the job. And we signed on for like 4 weeks. But after we played a week or so, he signed us up for about 8 more weeks. So we spent 12 weeks out there, and we played 6 nights a week. And and we had some good crowds. And I will.
That's where Elvis came into the picture.
I was getting ready to say that. Go ahead.
After the show one night, we didn't know it at the time, but he was in the audience. And after the show, we were back in the dressing room, and he comes into the dressing room with his entourage, and he says, I just wanted to talk to somebody from the South.
Yeah.
And we had some special outfits made for that had these high turn-up collars on them, sparkles and all that stuff, glitter on them. And he really admired that. He took notice of that because all the shows previous to that, he wore just a regular, like, jacket and stuff like that. After that, he started wearing these high-collared outfits like we had.
Yeah, he did. He really, he wanted to know. He said, well, where did you get those jackets? And we had them made right there in Vegas.
Yeah.
And so that was a big moment that when he popped in come in that door. I said, wow.
Do you remember what year that was?
56.
No, that'd be 57.
57.
Yeah.
That was like October 57, maybe.
Yeah, somewhere around. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And yeah, it was, I think our manager, Bob Cox, and the Colonel were friends. And I think that's how that come together, that he came in and everything. Saying right after the Vegas deal, we come home, and then we started doing some other stuff and traveling. And then in March of the next year, we was on Ed Sullivan show for the first time. And we was on that time with Jimmy Rogers. I think that wasn't his Honeycomb.
Yep.
Was his big hit. And we were on there with him in 58, March 3rd. And
Yeah, we played several of those, what they call sock hops up in the northeast.
Yeah.
With the Alan Freed outfit, and you'd have all the names, groups in one venue, doing it. We played several of those up through there in Connecticut and all up in that area.
Did you play all original music, or did you play some other folks?
You know, at that time, we just did our original stuff. We did our music. And because while we were in Vegas, we flew down to Los Angeles and cut penny loafers and bobby sockers there. I can't remember what was on the other side of that.
I don't recall.
I can't remember what was on the other side of it. And then we flew back to Vegas. And another thing in Vegas, right after that, Nat King Cole had a special from the Sands Hotel. So we got booked onto that. And one night we went and did that show. Then we come back to the Royal Nevada Hotel and did our show. And but yeah, we had a good ride.
Yes, yes, you guys were pretty big time there for a few years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you know, probably so, but we didn't know it.
Yeah, we didn't have a clue.
We were having good time.
we just having a ball, you know.
Having a good time. You know, we didn't start out with that in mind when the band came together. You know, we just wanted to play and enjoy it, and things just developed that way. We had to drop out of high school one year because we were doing this traveling over there, and we did some tutoring in Las Vegas. But when we got back, I decided I'm going to go back and finish high school. So I was probably the first one to exit the band, and so I did. I went back and finished high school, and there were some other people come in to the band,
Right.
to fill the places, but that's where it all started. You know, it just we were still students, school students. We
Yeah.
hadn't finished high school, but
And then right after Jimmy left, Howard left and went back to school. And so he left me and Joe. And we bopped around for a pretty good while with some other members. But yeah, we played on on up into the 60s. And about August in 60s, we kind of disbanded. Joe got drafted into the
Air Force.
Air Force.
Yeah, he's in the Air Force. Yeah.
And so that kind of just put the squash on everything. And then we didn't do anything for a pretty good while.
Did you continue playing music with other bands after the Sparkletones kind of broke up?
Yeah.
I'll play in a couple of bands now, even playing with a jazz group here in Spartanburg called the Windjammers. I play with them occasionally.
In the early 80s, I got hooked up with some guys from the church I went to at Canis Baptist Church. And I got hooked up with these guys, and we started playing gospel music and bluegrass. And we called ourselves, all lived in Canis Campground. We called ourselves the Campground Boys. And that was the early 80s. I'm thinking 82, maybe 83. And we're still playing gospel music and bluegrass to this day. And but yeah, I continue to. I think long as I can do it and breathe and do that, that's what I'm going to do.
Yep.
And the Lord's been good to me.